It's been a week here in the United States, grieving and just visibility of evil and some terrible things happening. I'm just really thinking of like, how do we help talk with our spouse? How do we help talk with our kids amidst these things that come at us in life? And this is where I'm challenging myself to be a better dad and husband, and saying our response is our responsibility. Hey, welcome to the Something New show, where we help working parents lead with faith and with purpose. I'm your host, Jordan Linscomb. Today, we're going to dive into the two biggest things that have been on my mind this month when it comes to staying hopeful in spite of disappointments, tragedy, violence, and things in our culture. And then also, another key thing I'm reminding myself as a husband and as a dad when it comes to taking responsibility for my actions. And so we're going to dive right in today. This applies to any parents, but especially for the dads out there. And I want to share, just jumping right into it, there's a proverb that's been on my mind. It's an ancient proverb from Proverbs 13:12 in the Bible, and it says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life." Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. This is such a powerful proverb. It applies to so many things in life when I look back in our journey and our story so far. And I can think about the hope and things about getting married, of starting a family, all these wonderful things we were looking forward to, and then also the challenges that we've experienced through childhood cancer and setbacks and disappointments and other things that we didn't see coming in life. So we're going to jump into that more here today. But the second is a big principle, and it's this concept that our response is our responsibility. Our response is our responsibility. Write that down if you've never heard that before. It's just such a key thing I'm working on still, and I'm sharing this first and foremost for me, as a dad and as a husband and as a leader in our community, of just saying, how do I continue to respond well in life, even when things don't go how I planned or how I wanted or how I've been hoping for and expecting them to work? And so the big idea I just want to share, first of all, is, when hope is deferred, it's so easy to get discouragement creeping into our hearts, right? But when we get that longing fulfilled, that's life-giving. And you've probably had enough life where you can experience both sides of that coin. But for us, when I think about this topic, we were so excited to start a family years back. We had our first son. Our second son came along 2.5 years later, and we're super grateful, celebrating our oldest 5-year-old birthday, remember it clear as day. And we started to know some really serious health concerns with our second born, and our third born had arrived as well too. So we had 3 boys. Long story short, our second born, Brody, went through a cancer battle when he was 2 and 3. And during that time frame, this proverb just lived out so well. It was like, man, we had these dreams and ideas of what he was going to do. Just things to experience that year as a family, and all of that changed on a dime. I remember in particular, after going through a lot of procedures and, just gut-wrenching updates and things with doctors and the team, he went into a certain procedure around Easter weekend of 2015. And we literally did not know if he was going to come out of those doors alive. We had to send him into the operating room. They were doing something to check on certain condition with him. And that was a really, really tough feeling. So we were saying, how do we hold on to hope? How do we keep our hearts healthy, even though we just really felt really heartsick and like we were struggling and trying to survive to help our son? And so fast forward, by God's total grace, by help from the medical team and others, and the chemo working, like Brody did come through and survive that cancer battle. But I just remember that moment in time of looking at my child going through those doors saying, this might be it. And that was a really heart-sickening time. During that time, I remember distinctly a friend brought over a vision board and to put it in our room, and it had pictures of Brody, playing sports. It had pictures of just other kids and other families and examples that we could keep in front of our mind, of a dad and a son going hunting, which is one of my biggest passions, one of the things I did this weekend with one of my kids. So in that dire straits and in those moments of the hospital, we experienced both, where we're like, man, how do we keep vision and how do we keep other future dreams in front of us in spite of the moment feeling so terrible, in spite of the procedures being so, day by day of if he's going to make it or not. And so years went by. Again, we were so grateful that he's healthy, he's doing well. And in recent years, been able to see him play some sports, play flag football, get into theater, even get into tackle football this year. And so I signed up again to help as assistant coach and be there in the mix with our son. And I got to share, it was so amazing to me to just be a part, to see him pushing himself to really get into the conditioning, to really get into the game. And game one happens, he just totally dominates. I share that humbly as a dad. He's just a helmet taller than most of the kids in 7th grade. He's going out there, he's having a total blast. He's having fun. And I just sit there stand on the sideline looking at it like, this is a longing fulfilled. Like, I had a dream in a hospital room that my kid would be healthy enough by God's grace to play sports someday. And that was happening in late August, early September of this year. Fast forward, go through game one, and we get into game two. There's a big play coming up, and Brody's tight end. He takes off towards the end zone. Quarterback makes an incredible throw. Brody catches it, lands in the end zone, holds on to the ball, and then the little defender lands on him, on his top shoulder. The pressure goes through and breaks Brody's collarbone. Now, he did hold on to the catch. He did get the points. But, oh, my goodness, I just was hoping. Maybe it was a stinger. Maybe it's just going to be a quick something, and he could bounce back up. But he was down and out, and he was in pain. He was not feeling well. And so as me and the coaches went over, I just realized in a moment, like, that whole hope and that excitement that he had for this season changed on the dime. It changed in one moment. And I sat there in the grass with him, and the others are saying, like, how do we respond to this, okay? This is not what we had planned. We know there's a risk with playing football. But how do we respond accordingly, right? So we got him to the ER. We got him in a sling. He's on the road to recovery. But it just reminded me again in a much smaller way of like, oh, hope deferred makes the heart sick. How do I help my kid stay hopeful? How do I help him stay positive and reassure him that we're going to help him recover? And it's going to take time. It's not going to be overnight, but we're going to help him through this season so that he can recover well and get back to some of the stuff he loves. And so part of that, I think for us as dads and as parents is like, okay, when those moments happen, how do we, one, properly grieve those moments and feel the feelings and feel the sadness and feel the disappointment? There's a temptation and a struggle in life sometimes where we just want to move on and be like, okay, it's going to be all right. And we got plenty to be thankful for. Let's just move on. But I've done my best, but just to really talk through this with him and to be there with him in the sadness of it, of like, this really stinks. This is not good. It's going to take some time. Yeah, 100 days from now, we're going to be moved on and doing better and moving better again. But I do want to encourage you as dads and as parents, just take that moment to sit in that grief and that disappointment with your children, okay? So lesson for your parents is like, don't minimize their grief. Let the kids see and acknowledge loss honestly, but still speak life and hope to your kids in the midst of those setbacks and disappointments. And for the dads out there, I just want to let you know it's okay to model that grieving, and it's okay to say things like, this hurts, or I'm sad about this, or this isn't what we planned, and man, this is disappointing, versus just pushing through. And then also find other ways to frame hope and to bring in new dreams into your family conversation, okay? So that could be other things that are on the horizon for your family. So for our son, like he's loves doing theater. Now, we didn't anticipate that, we're going to immediately kind of stop sports and look at that as our next step. But that's one hopeful thing that we're excited about for his next season, right, in life, is like he's got a really fun, exciting season ahead with some things with theater, and then we'll get back into more sports and things in the spring. And we'll try football again next year and, a year from now. So is that far out for some of that? Yeah, that's 10, 11 months for some of that with football again. But in the meantime, just pragmatically, we're saying, okay, like what can we keep hopeful? What can we look forward to in the here and now or in the next 60 days to have something positive to look forward to? All right. And another thing as well, too, just for the dads and others out there is take a moment and talk with your spouse. And you could ask them questions, even if they feel setbacks or like things have been deferred or put off in their life, and just ask them things like, what's been weighing on you lately? What's been weighing on you lately? When's the last time you asked your spouse that and just took some time to listen, took some time to really hear what's on their heart? Or even ask them that question, how's your heart? Or how can I help fill up your bucket in different ways? Those small little questions can really model care within your family. And so James Baldwin had this quote, and he said, children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. I'll say that again. Children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them, from James Baldwin.
Looking for the perfect vacation spot to disconnect from everything, put your feet in the softest sand, and enjoy a fresh, renovated 2-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhouse right on the beach in my favorite place in the world? Well, 30A is situated in the panhandle of Florida, and I'd love for you to check out Something Blue 30A on Instagram and make it the perfect place for your next vacation.
As we move in deeper in this conversation, beyond that proverb, I just think it ties so well. And this is where I'm challenging myself to be a better dad and husband, is saying our response is our responsibility. It's been a week here in the United States. We've experienced a lot of violence lately, North Carolina, Charlie Kirk, and more. There's just been a nationwide and worldwide grieving and just visibility of evil and some terrible things happening in our country and in our culture. And so as I've been thinking about these two big topics, then all of this happens in the middle of it over the last 7-10 days of this recording. I'm just really thinking of like, how do we help talk with our spouse? How do we help talk with our kids amidst these things that come at us in life? And unfortunately, there's evil in this world. Unfortunately, there's extreme disappointments and grief, right? And so I think the big insight for you here is like, we can't control everything, but our wife and our kids feel our responses as dads and as husbands. And so our tone and our presence can either fuel chaos or they can fuel peace in our home. And I am continuing to work on this, but I'm saying, how can I be someone who helps bring more peace, more restoration, more listening, more safe environment and places for our kids and my wife to feel comfortable at home, comfortable to talk to me about anything that's on their mind. We often tell our kids, you can always tell us anything. You can always tell us the truth. We love you now and forever, no matter what, right? And so a couple of frameworks I want to share for you dads out there is try to pause before reacting. Because again, our response is our responsibility. Write that down if you don't have this in your life yet, okay? But count to 10, take a breath, pray a one-line prayer before responding. If you need to, just like pause before reacting. And then also name what you're feeling. You might need to say something as practical as, I am frustrated right now because, and then you fill in the blank. Whether it's something in the kitchen, it's something at home, people aren't listening. Put words to it and model that for your spouse and for your kids, because naming it will help it from leaking out sideways and getting out of control. Another thing is choose gentle words. Proverbs 15:1, another proverb says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. You've probably all seen it in your families. Maybe I hope it's not just us, right? But someone will say something and then a sibling tries to just stir something up or twist the situation. But we come back to this, right? It says a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Let's be more gentle with our answers. And then another idea for dads out there is model recovery. When you blow it, and I have, even within last week, okay, it's own it quickly. Say things like, I shouldn't have spoken that way. Will you forgive me? We're really big in our household of saying, I was wrong for this, that, and another. If, you get really specific. I was wrong. Please forgive me. We've had conversations even recently where I've just had to have our whole family come into the living room and share with them and apologize and ask for their forgiveness, or I need to step up even better as a dad and as a husband in certain ways and how I'm responding. And so for some of you, you might be at that moment where you say, hey, when's the last time you just took responsibility for your actions as a dad, as a mom? And is it a time and a space where you need to stop and just clear the air over a dinner, over some time in the evening, and set a new framework, kind of break the harshness, break the stress, break the bitterness by bringing in and ushering in some apologies and some just confessing where you've fallen short as a mom or a dad. I've been there, and I can tell you firsthand, it definitely opens up our hearts. It softens our hearts to say, hey, let's be forgiving. Let's work together as a team. Let's model things in our family of how we can own up to our mistakes and move forward. So, again, I want to share a story of like last week. My son, couldn't play in the football game. It was a bummer. He's there on the sideline. They made him captain. It was very nice of the head coach. But he's like, hey, go out there, be our wounded warrior, be a captain. But the game gets underway. We score on the first play. A friend of ours, he ran special teams all the way back, from the kickoff, scores, and like the game's super exciting. We're kicking off in a great direction. Fast forward through the game, it was neck and neck. We did a really big punt return. Same kid runs the ball all the way back, basically for our second touchdown, but a penalty flag is thrown on us, on our team, blocking the back, some kind of call like that. And parents on the sidelines, us as coaches, none of us really saw what the ref saw. It seemed like, honestly, a blown call. And in that moment, we didn't get the points, and we wound up losing by one touchdown, basically, in that game. And I was talking with the team afterwards, of just sharing this big idea of like, hey, guys, none of us wanted to lose. None of us wanted that call. It is what it is. And so now we have to look at our response as our responsibility. How are we going to show up next time in practice? How are we going to get better from this? How are we going to move forward in spite of our really disappointing loss in a game that we actually should have won, right? And so I think this applies so much in sports. It applies in business and work. It applies in parenting. And again, keep in mind this super important point that our response is our responsibility. Dr. Travis Bradberry has an incredible book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and others. He shares these ideas that self-awareness plus self-regulation are the two most important leadership skills. And dads, I want to encourage and remind you, you are the CEO of your home in so many ways, right? Your regulation sets the emotional thermostat for your house and for your home and for your community, extended family. So I want to encourage you to step it up in even further ways when it comes to our self-awareness, our self-regulation. How are we modeling things for our families? And whether you agree with them or not, Andy Stanley, preacher and pastor, his incredible quote says, "Your greatest contribution to the kingdom of God may not be something you do, but someone you raise." Again, your greatest contribution to the kingdom of God may not be something you do, but someone that you raise. Okay, so as we wrap up, I just want to encourage the dads out there and the parents out there, grieve well. If you're carrying some disappointment, don't bury it. There's a lot of disappointment, frustration, anger, and heartache going on in our country at the time of this recording. Again, there's been violence in the news. Charlie Kirk was assassinated and murdered. It's everywhere on social media and the news. And so we are having to clarify with children and talk about this and also just model for them how can we respond in healthy grieving ways, whether we agree with what happened or not. And good God, I hope we're not celebrating. But this is a topic where like death and violence towards any person in any way is something that should not be celebrated. It's something that should be grieved regardless of how we view things and how, have different values or perspectives with people, right? But I just want to encourage the dads out there, regardless of your views or your takes, like it's okay to carry disappointment and not bury that, but grieve well with your kids, whatever the circumstances may be in your household and in your family. Share that with your spouse. Journal about it if you need. Pray about it if you need. But also, and encourage you as dads, create hope in your family. Like leading your family with new hope, with some new steps. What can you do to mix things up? To maybe change some plans around to create things and get it more hopeful in your life. So clear a family night this week if you need to just have some time together and cook together or share a meal. Consider maybe plan a trip or a simple day away to make some new memories as a family. I did that recently with our oldest. He had some setbacks as well too. With temporary setback with a minor injury with football. And so I spent a lot more time with him over the weekend than I had probably planned before his injury because I wanted to connect with him, wanted to create some fun new memories together, and also just remind him like, hey, we have hope beyond just football of other things we could do as dad and son and as family. And then if you're looking at your family calendar, like look in the next 1 or 2 weeks, like maybe you need to drop a draining commitment or something that's going on so you can create space for what matters most. So you can have the emotional health, the emotional space to respond well. So I just want to share, for me and Mindy, like our deepest source of hope isn't just in plans or habits or different life hacks and things that we've shared. For us, it really is our faith in Jesus Christ through the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, and the really tough things in life. That is what has been our anchor to help us through life and to just become better and better working parents and better as a couple. So I want to encourage you, if you want to understand more about that hope, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram. We'd love to connect with you. You can DM us there and ask, and we're happy to share more of like, what does that hope look like and how we found ways to hold on to that as an anchor for our soul in the midst of all that's going on and being working parents and in this life. And so I just want to encourage you, the small, consistent steps and things that we do can really, and how we respond, can shape our marriages, strengthen our kids, and help us leave a better legacy as dads, as parents. So I trust this would help you today to keep in mind the two main things that have been on my mind over the last month, and especially during some recent crazy things in our country. It's these two main things, again, I'll repeat it, is hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. And the other is our response is our responsibility. So let's continue to respond well. Let's continue to respond in health so we can have our families and our children and others really living out hope, living out ways through the ups and downs in life that we can hold on to hope as parents. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Something New Show. I want to invite you and encourage you to share that this episode with any others that you know where it would add value to them, encourage them, help them in their journey as working parents. So grateful that you're a part, and please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to this content so more people can find out about it. And we're honored to be along in the journey with you. All the best. We'll see you next time on the Something New Show.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow the Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.